Tang Mo stared at the billboards and stores on both sides of the road. He racked his brain to recall everything that he saw 2 years ago. His physical state and memories were enhanced, but it had been too long since he came to Beijing and he hadn't been concentrating on the road. The car turned and drove for dozens of meters before Tang Mo said, "No, this doesn't seem to be it. I think we should have turned left just now." Fu Wenduo turned around and drove back. Tang Mo observed the surrounding environment while looking at the map of Beijing. This type of map was unlikely to accurately mark the name and location of each community in Beijing, but it would mark some of the more important big shopping malls and factories. Through the exclusion method, Tang Mo ruled out that routes that were unlikely to occur in residential areas. 1 hour later, the car drove to the door of an old Foz.H.I+1 community. "I found it." The community wasn't big. The houses inside were 6-story buildings and looked quite old. The rusty iron gate was slightly hidden and there was silence in the community. Fu Wenduo drove the car to the door of the community and the trio got out of the car. Tang Mo went to the iron gate and pushed it open. Tang Mo raised his finger and found a faint black color on his fingertips. No one had clearly been here for a long time because the gate was covered with dust. Once he found the community, it was much easier to find his friend's house. Tang Mo looked for 10 minutes and found a grey building on the side. The security door downstairs was locked. Fu Wenduo took a small knife from his backpack and easily opened the door lock. Once the security door was opened, a musty and sour smell emerged. It felt like new air hadn't entered for a long time. Fu Wenzheng frowned and coughed twice. Tang Mo covered his nose and then turned to look at Fu Wenduo. The two men nodded and Tang Mo entered the small building first. The sound of footsteps filled the corridor. Tang Mo covered his nose and walked to the 4th floor. Every door was closed and no sound came from inside. It was likely that everyone in this building had disappeared when the earth went online. Once Tang Mo arrived at the 5th floor, he could smell something rotting. He turned to look at Fu Wenduo suspiciously. Fu Wenduo understood what he meant and shook his head. "It isn't a corpse. It should be rotten meat." The trio walked up to the top floor step by step. Then Tang Mo stopped at an old iron door. He was about to open the door lock with a knife when his movements suddenly stopped. Fu Wenduo was the same behind him. In the quiet hallway, only Fu Wenzheng waited for Tang Mo to open the lock. The next moment, Tang Mo turned around and threw his knife. "Who's .H?" Plus the knife was extremely fast and pierced through the eye hole of the door, creating a hole in the door. Xiao Fu's eyes widened, but before he could ask, Fu Wenduo grabbed him and pushed him downstairs. "Run!" Fu Wenzheng wasn't as good as his big brother, but his physical fitness had also improved. Right before he hit the ground, he used his right hand as support and landed steadily. He ran straight downstairs without raising his head, while there was the sound of an iron door slamming above him. "Catch that kid as a hostage." Fu Wenduo narrowed his eyes and kicked the young man who kicked open the door. Chi Hung hurriedly raised his hands to resist, but he was forced back by Fu Wenduo's kick and hit the wall. Without giving him a chance to rest, Fu Wenduo jumped in and punched with his right hand. Chi Hung rolled on the ground to avoid it. Meanwhile, a slender white figure emerged from the other side of the door and ran down the stairs quickly. Tang Mo had long been ready. A rubber rope rolled around the person's arm at a very fast speed. The female doctor had just run to the 5th floor when the rubber rope wrapped around her wrist and dragged her up. By this time, Fu Wenzheng was already on the 2nd floor. The female doctor looked up with surprise, standing in the stairway between the 5th and 6th floors. She wanted to rip off the rubber rope tied to her, but she couldn't break it. Finally, the female doctor smiled strangely. "Is this your ability, Tang Mo?" Tang Mo was shocked when he heard his name. The next moment, the female doctor grabbed the rubber rope and pulled Tang Mo down. Tang Mo's body moved through the air. He seized the opportunity by kicking off the wall with one foot. He stepped on the stair railing, stabilized his body and confronted the female doctor. In another house on the 6th floor, Fu Wenduo and Chi Hung had exchanged several rounds. The sound of metal colliding kept ringing out. In the hallway, the function of the rubber rope ability ended, the female doctor's wrist was released and she moved sideways to avoid the small parasol. Bang! The small parasol pierced the wall. Tang Mo immediately pulled it out and stabbed the small parasol again. The female doctor fell to avoid it while Tang Mo attacked again and again with the small parasol. Bang bang bang! The wall was quickly punctured with round holes as the female doctor was backed into a corner by Tang Mo. She turned to escape, but Tang Mo opened the small parasol, blocking her path. Then Tang Mo closed it and stabbed her chest. The female doctor's expression changed. This time she couldn't escape, so she took a knife out of her pocket. Tang Mo saw this knife, estimated the direction of the attack and moved sideways to dodge it. He never expected for the female doctor to turn the knife over and stab at her right hand, causing blood to flow down. "You're the one who forced me to do this." Tang Mo's eyes widened. He had an ominous feeling as his brain worked very quickly. He hadn't figured out why the other person had harmed herself when he suddenly felt a pain in his right hand. The intense pain caused Tang Mo's actions to slow down a beat, and the female doctor took this opportunity to escape upstairs and join her companion. "Go!" Chi Hung and the female doctor glanced at each other and cried out simultaneously. The pair turned towards the balcony, trying to jump out the window. However, Fu Wenduo didn't give them a chance to leave. A slender rope wrapped around Chi Heng's arm from the rear. He tried to shake off the rope, but it clung to him. He cried out angrily, "Fu Wenduo, we don't want to fight against you right now." Fu Wenduo replied coldly, "Then why are you lying in ambush here?" The female doctor tried hard to untie the rope for her companion, but she didn't succeed. She cursed, looked up and found that Tang Mo had also entered. Tang Mo's right hand was hanging down unnaturally, his fingers trembling slightly. There was no wound on his right hand but the pain in his heart wasn't negligible. Fu Wenduo looked down and found out the situation. What's wrong? Tang Mo pointed to the female doctor's right hand where blood was flowing. She stabbed herself and I felt pain in the same position. Fu Wenduo stared coldly. The female doctor's recovery rate was amazing. The blood had begun to solidify in a few seconds and the wound on her right hand healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. As her wound healed, the pain in Tang Mo's right hand decreased. Fu Wenduo's rope was still wrapped around Qi Hung so the female doctor and Qi Hung couldn't leave. The four people were separated by 5 meters as they confronted each other. Fu Wenduo asked, "What the H.E.L. do you want?" Qi Hung laughed. "It has nothing to do with you. Can't you just pass by? Beijing is our home. We can't hang out casually. Why do you know my name?" Qi Hung and the female doctor turned to look at Tang Mo. Consternation flashed on Qi Hung's face and then he turned his head. "Did you F.U.C. King say his name?" The female doctor was upset. "The situation was urgent so I accidentally leaked it. DAM.N. The balance in the room was maintained. Fu Wenduo's rope was around Qi Hung's arm while the female doctor and Qi Hung were trying to untie it. Once Qi Hung reprimanded the female doctor, the tense atmosphere seemed to slightly ease. Qi Hung just said, "Once we go back, Lian Yuzheng will definitely kill you," when he suddenly turned to attack Tang Mo with the female doctor. However, Tang Mo hadn't relaxed his vigilance at all. He moved away from Qi Hung's long metal stick and was preparing to fight back when there was suddenly a pain from his head. Tang Mo let out am.u.f. fled groan. Not far away, the female doctor grinned while bleeding from the head. There was no blood on Tang Mo's head but the pain of his head being cut was like a thin needle stabbing into his heart. Fu Wenduo headed straight to the female doctor. The female doctor ran away while continuing to harm herself. Her recovery was so amazing that she could heal in 5 seconds, no matter where the wound was. But this was enough. Qi Hung rushed to Tang Mo again and again. Whenever Tang Mo wanted to fight back, the sudden pain would make him slow down and he could only continue to defend. Fu Wenduo turned his right hand into a black metal weapon and cut through the wall. The female doctor was finally pushed to the brink by him. Once she saw that the situation was bad, the female doctor's eyes flashed white and then she stabbed his shoulder again. Fu Wenduo's movement stopped but the triangular weapon still pierced the female doctor's abdomen, causing her to spit out blood. The female doctor hurriedly slashed 10 more cuts on her body and finally cut off her right hand with a knife, but Fu Wenduo's speed didn't slow down. The female doctor was horrified. "Are you a person?" Fu Wenduo's answer was to stab her in the chest. The female doctor moved sideways to avoid it but then a black dagger appeared in his left hand. He waved the sharp weapon in his right hand, causing the female doctor to evade to the left. Then he revealed his other weapon. The sharp dagger was like a black bolt of lightning, slamming into the female doctor's heart. The female doctor's eyes widened as she stared at the man in front of her. Blood spurted from her mouth while Fu Wenduo felt the pain of his heart being pierced. This pain made him lick his lips without making a sound. A variety of complex emotions flashed in the female doctor's eyes. Finally, she kicked against the ground and leaped back, smas.h.i+ng through the opposite door. "Qi Hung, F.U.C. King come save me. I'm going to die." The female doctor's ability had switched to Fu Wenduo so the situation on Tang Mo's side was no longer so critical. Fu Wenduo once said that he knew Ruan W.A.N.Shu and Qi Heng's abilities in the Tianqian organization. Ruan W.A.N.Shu's ability was gravity control while Qi Heng's ability was a type of visual interference. Whenever he attacked, there would seem to be 2 of him. One was the real Qi Hung while the other was fake. The female doctor's cry for help seemed to be full of anger. In fact, his voice was trembling and seemed like it was going to disappear. Qi Hung heard this and first wanted to swear. Then he rushed towards the opposite side without looking back. Tang Mo seized this opportunity to close his parasol and stabbed Qi Hung in the back. At this moment, there seemed to be 2 of Qi Hung. Tang Mo avoided the metal stick in the fake Qi Heng's hand while the small parasol pierced the real Qi Hung. At the same time, Qi Heng's left hand that had been behind him suddenly moved. He held a black note in his hand and slammed it towards Tang Mo's forehead. Tang Mo reacted quickly, avoiding the blow. The paper was 10 centimeters away from his head and then as if it suddenly grew eyes, it flew towards his head and stuck to his forehead. Qi Hung shouted, "Mother, mother, the black tower is my father." Then Qi Hung kicked against the wall, borrowing the force to fly into the opposite house. He grabbed the female doctor and wanted to jump off the building to escape. However, he had just entered the door when a voice rang out through the corridor. Ding dong. Players Qi Hung and Li Miao Miao have triggered the branch mission. 2 or more people have stepped into W.A.N.G Zixin's house and officially entered the reality instance day before official player W.A.N.G Zixin's death. Game location, W.A.N.G Zixin's house. Game time, 1 day. Tip, leaving the game location will count as the player quitting the game and the consequences are very serious. Please be actively involved and enjoy the game. Qi Hung just stepped onto the balcony and his foot froze in mid-air. The female doctor spat out blood, not knowing if it was from anger or the pain in her heart. Qi Hung tugged at the female doctor's collar, his expression very dark. Finally, he unleashed a series of curse words as he pulled the female doctor back into the house with a livid expression. He looked up and found Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo standing in the opposite house. He saw Tang Mo's pale face and thought Tang Mo was scared because of the black note attached to his forehead. Oh, person surnamed Tang, I won't beat you. This S.P.A.ce is too small and is limited. Just wait for that to activate and you will soon see. Once he heard the name of this reality instance, Fu Wenduo bowed his head and looked at Tang Mo. There was no trace of blood on Tang Mo's face and he looked across with a blank expression. The door opposite them had been smashed by the female door while the door to this house had been broken by Chi Hung. At this moment, the four of them were standing in two houses, the door open as they looked at each other. It was only 10 meters but it seemed to be as far apart as life and death. If Tang Mo hadn't discovered Chi Hung and the female doctor hiding behind another door, they would be the ones entering Tang Mo's house. Yet that didn't happen. The Black Tower said that the name of this instance was day before official player W.A.N.G. death. Tang Mo calmly watched the opposite house before saying, go. Fu Wenduo stared at him for a moment. Okay. It was dangerous to walk from the corridor. Other players were unable to enter the reality instance that had opened while Chi Hung and the female doctor couldn't come out. Still, they could use props to unleash a sneak attack on Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo. Tang Mo headed to the balcony in this house and used his right hand as support while jumping down. The two men disappeared. Shortly after they left, the corridor filled with the swearing of Chi Hung and the female doctor. It is all your fault. I told you not to follow me so closely. Now we triggered AF.U.C. King reality instance. How can you blame me? You said that the time is limited and there is only 7 days left. The leader hasn't woken up yet and Lian Yuzhang can't move. Didn't you say we should seize this time? F.U.C.K. I blame you for saying weird things. Damn it, suddenly, their voices stopped and they simultaneously looked at the door. There shouldn't be a door there because it had been broken by the female doctor. Yet a brand new door appeared. There was a sound from the keyhole and then the door opened. There was no one behind the door. Chi Hung and the female doctor stopped arguing as they looked coldly at the door of the house. In that empty place, a foot suddenly appeared. It was really just a foot. There seemed to be an invisible enchantment around the door of this room. Someone walked in from outside the house and the moment he entered, his body appeared in the air. Once he entirely entered the house, his whole body appeared. It was a tall flat-headed youth, covered in blood and a hideous wound on his face. He stumbled into the house and rushed to the bedroom. He didn't seem to see Chi Hung and the female doctor standing in the living room. He rushed into the bedroom while shaking, phone, my phone. I have to tell brothers Ei and A Tang. Yes, tell them, tell them. I have to tell them about the Black Tower game, the Black Tower game. There was a bang and the door closed. Ding dong. The reality instance day before official player W.A.N.G. death has officially opened. Downstairs, in the garden. Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo came down from the 6th floor. They searched the community for a while before finding the hidden Fu Wen's. The child was very well hidden and couldn't be seen with Tang Mo's eyesight. It was only Fu Wenduo's powerful scouting ability that allowed him to find the child hiding in the GRA.S.S. Fu Wen's saw the two people and realized that his brother and Tang Mo were wounded. He hurriedly pulled a bottle of mineral water out of IH's bag. Fu Wenduo poured the water onto his body and then handed it to Tang Mo. Tang Mo looked calmly at the mineral water. Fu Wenduo's eyes stared back at him. After dealing with the wounds, the trio got into their car and drove out of the community, finding a safe place to stop. Fu Wenduo determined there was no one following behind them and locked the door. This was a dark warehouse where chains that specialized in clothing brands stored their clothes. Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo weren't seriously injured in the previous battle but their clothes were tattered. Fu Wenduo grabbed white sportswear and handed it to Tang Mo who accepted. The two men changed their clothes in the dimly lit warehouse before starting to discuss what had just happened. The most important thing was the black note stuck to Tang Mo's forehead. Fu Wenduo turned on the flashlight and looked carefully at the note on Tang Mo's forehead. It is 3 centimeters in length and 1 centimeter in width. There are no words on it. There is no difference between it and ordinary paper. But, it can't be ripped off. Fu Wenduo tried hard to pull it but the black note seemed stuck to Tang Mo. When it was pulled, Tang Mo's skin was pulled with it. Fu Wen's asked, is the enemy dead? Fu Wenduo shook his head. No, although one of them was seriously injured. The two people entered a reality instance. There is a reality instance in that building. Xiao Fu was surprised. Tang Mo's calm voice was heard. Yes, it is the house we were going to enter. As long as 2 people enter the house, the reality instance will trigger. The name is the day before the homeowner's death. Fu Wen's didn't respond at first. Then he remembered that the homeowner was Tang Mo's close friend and looked at Tang Mo with shock. Tang Mo reached out and pulled at the note on his forehead. I really can't rip it off. When I was fighting Chi Hung just now, he didn't stick the note on my head. But once it was 10 centimeters close to my forehead, it suddenly left Chi Hung's hand and stuck to my forehead of its own initiative. Tang Mo spoke with certainty, it is a prop. The magical note was obviously a prop. Chi Hung said. Mother, mother, the Black Tower is my father. Tang Mo repeated this sentence and pondered it for a moment. This should be a spell. This is a Black Tower prop and he said that I will soon know what it does. It looked like the prop would show an effect after a short period of time. In the worst case scenario, it is very close to my brain and might be able to damage it. Fu Wenduo said, if there was such an effect, he would have used it on me early on when I was fighting him. Tang Mo looked up at him. This is just the worst case scenario. The two people's eyes met. The black note was so mysterious that no one could uncover the truth. It hung between Tang Mo's eyebrows and floated on his nose. Tang Mo no longer dwelled on this weird note and turned to look at Fu Wenduo. Obviously, as we have predicted, the people in Tianxian really know my coordinates. The previous 4 stowaways knew it and this time Qi Hung and Li Miao Miao knew it. Fu Wenduo said, Qi Hung and Li Miao Miao are among the original 7 stowaways of Tianxian. Li Miao Miao often wears a white coat and she seemed to be a doctor before the earth went online. Now she is also a doctor in the Tianxian organization. Originally, I thought it might have something to do with her previous career and now it seems that it might have something to do with her ability. The 2 men glanced at each other. Tang Mo mused, her ability is very strange. She didn't seem to feel any fear from harming herself but others could feel it. However, it should be limited to one person. Once she s.h.I plus did the pain to you, I didn't feel it. Tang Mo paused before his eyes widened. When you pierced her heart just now, Fu Wenduo nodded. Yes, I felt the pain. Tang Mo asked, does it still hurt? Her ability disappeared once she moved to another room. Tang Mo watched Fu Wenduo. He seemed to remember that when the female doctor fled to old W.A.N.G's house, her right hand was gone. She cut off her own right hand so Fu Wenduo would have also felt the pain. Tang Mo gazed at Fu Wenduo. A moment later, Fu Wenduo raised an eyebrow and seemed to ask, what's the matter? Tang Mo shook his head and said, Qi Hung and the female doctor could find us, indicating that they have my coordinates. At the same time, the female doctor called my name. She knew that my name is Tang Mo. There are only 2 possibilities. First, they found someone who knew me. I am an ordinary person, not a big star like Lian Yuzheng. I have no friends in Beijing except for old Wang. The Black Tower clearly said that old W.A.N.G is dead. From the reactions of the 2 people who triggered the reality instance, they don't know old W.A.N.G. Tang Mo was extremely calm when he said this. Thus, it can't be the first possibility. There is only the second possibility. The Black Tower told them my name as well. Fu Wenduo had always been paying attention to Tang Mo. Qi Hung and the female doctor worked together, indicating that killing you is very important to them. But Ruan W.A.N.Shu didn't come, Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo said together, he was injured. Both men froze for a moment after speaking in unison. Then Fu Wenduo smiled, yes, Ruan W.A.N.Shu must have been injured. In addition, it is a very serious injury. Otherwise, Qi Hung and Li Miao Miao wouldn't appear together. They didn't plan to attack today. They just wanted to check the situation. However, we found them. Tang Mo thought about it. Ruan W.A.N.Shu, Ruan W.A.N.Shu, he suddenly raised his head. 3 days ago, Ruan W.A.N.Shu and Lian Yuzheng cleared the Black Tower's 2nd floor in hard mode. Xiao Fu said, is that the reason why the Black Tower told them news of Brother Tang? No one knew the answer. Tang Mo thought about it. It was completely unexpected for the Black Tower to unconditionally tell one player's information to another player. He didn't do anything to the Black Tower so it was really like a pot falling from the sky. The Black Tower inexplicably told his coordinates and name to others, letting other people kill him. Anyway. There is a time limit. Tang Mo looked at Fu Wenduo. There must be a time limit to the Black Tower telling me their location. Otherwise, Qi Hung and Li Miao Miao wouldn't be so anxious while Ruan W.A.N.Shu is injured. They would wait for him to recover before coming to ambush us. This time limit must be very short so that Ruan W.A.N.Shu can't recover from the injury in time. It is 10 days or shorter. Fu Wenduo also agreed with this view. He should have been seriously injured in the hard mode of the 2nd floor. Tang Mo bowed his head and was silent. After a moment, he looked up again, his eyes firmly on Fu Wenduo and Fu Wenzheng. Since it is like this, perhaps I can escape the sneak attacks by entering the tower attack game. Fu Wenduo was shocked. Enter the tower attack game. Tang Mo nodded. Yes, enter the tower attack game. The information given to them by the Black Tower is time limited. If I take the initiative to enter a Black Tower game, they won't be able to track me. Once the time limit pas.ses, I will be completely safe. This time, it was only Qi Hung and Li Miao Miao. Qi Hung obviously has an attack ability while Li Miao Miao is more of a support. Her strength isn't high. If they come with Ruan W.A.N.Shu and Lian Yuzheng who cleared the 2nd floor's hard mode. In any case, entering the tower attack game is the best way to avoid them. Tang Mo's last tower attack was already 2 months ago. He felt that with his present strength, the 3rd floor of the Black Tower wouldn't be so terrible. He also had the King's Gold Coin. If the Tianxian organization used all their strength to attack him, it would be hard for Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo to resist. The King's Gold Coin and Turkey Egg couldn't be used in reality. But once he entered the game, he had hopes of surviving. If it was the most critical junction, he would choose to enter the tower attack game. The trio took a break in the small warehouse and started driving again in the evening. In the evening, the trio rested in a small restaurant. Xiao Fu found many empty water bottles in the kitchen of the small restaurant and worked on filling them with mineral water. Tang Mo put his hands in his pocket, touched the ruby and prepared to go outside. Then Fu Wenduo suddenly called out to him. Tang Mo. Tang Mo stopped and turned around. In the small restaurant, Fu Wenduo was sitting on a kitchen table with a blackened frying pan and messy tableware behind him. This environment was really incompatible with the Fu Wenduo who was looking at Tang Mo with deep eyes. A long time said before he spoke in a low voice, "Do you still have any friends or family?" The fingers in his pocket trembled slightly as Tang Mo replied, "No. My parents died in a car accident a few years ago. I had one friend in Shanghai and one in Beijing. Now they are all gone." The moonlight shone through the window into the kitchen and the air was quiet. Fu Wenduo jumped off the table and walked towards Tang Mo. Tang Mo looked up at him, not understanding what he wanted to do. Fu Wenduo stared seriously at him before saying, "There is still us." Tang Mo's eyes slowly widened as he stared up at the man in front of him. He suddenly found that he was half a head shorter than Fu Wenduo. This distance allowed Fu Wenduo to see the moonlight reflected in Tang Mo's clear eyes. Tang Mo stared into Fu Wenduo's dark eyes and his heart slowly calmed down. Tang Mo's heart filled with many emotions and he remembered many CLA.S.6. Whenever the protagonist faced a great setback in life, his heart would fill with many emotions when others comforted him. Many writers used a simple phrase to describe this, mixed feelings. Tang Mo experienced mixed feelings as he looked into Fu Wenduo's handsome face. A moment later, he laughed out loud. Fu Wenduo looked at him strangely. This script didn't seem right. Tang Mo pointed to his forehead. "I just saw this note in your eyes. Don't you feel awkward looking at this note when talking to me?" Fu Wenduo, after a while, he asked, "Do you want to hear the truth?" Tang Mo stated seriously, "Tell me the truth." Fu Wenduo spoke quietly, "It is very awkward. It is like a zombie. You know, the kind of Hong Kong zombies with a piece of paper on their head. I deliberately wanted to ignore it but it is very difficult." Perhaps, Fu Wenduo suddenly raised his hand and covered Tang Mo's forehead. His lips curved. "This is more pleasing to the eye." Tang Mo didn't think he would make such a move and was stunned. The warm palm touched his cold forehead and Tang Mo's eyelashes trembled slightly as he stared at Fu Wenduo. Fu Wenduo was staring back at him. Neither of them spoke again. The temperature seemed to be getting hotter and hotter. Tang Mo felt like his breath was also burning up. This feeling was very strange. The hot heat made him feel unnatural and his heart jumped faster and faster. The next moment, Tang Mo pulled Fu Wenduo's hand away. Tang Mo was quickly pulling Fu Wenduo's hand away from his forehead when Fu Wenduo's eyes changed. It turned red. He saw that the black note on Tang Mo's forehead had suddenly turned red. It was constantly burning. Tang Mo touched his forehead and found that this note was becoming hotter and hotter. Their expressions sank and once the temperature of the paper reached a certain level, a loud child's voice rang in the room. Ding dong. I love the Black Tower, I want to attack the Black Tower. Charm has been detected. The player Tang Mo has successfully triggered the tower attack game. After 1 minute, the tower attack game will start. If successfully cleared, he can get the I love the Black Tower, I want to attack the Black Tower extra reward will be obtained. Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo's expressions changed. Fu Wensheng entered and saw their expressions. He wondered, what's the matter? Tang Mo's gaze s.h.I plused to him and he made a decision within 3 seconds. I'm going to attack the Black Tower. Fu Wensheng was surprised. What? Tang Mo just said he could choose to attack the tower and now he was going to the tower? Wasn't he too resolute? Fu Wenduo understood Tang Mo's meaning. Whether it was using the tower attack game to avoid the Tianxian organization or getting the extra reward, everything was very attractive. He said, okay. I don't know when you will come back. There is a house 300 meters south of Donghua Gate. From the outside, it is an ordinary courtyard house and there is pot of roses at the door. I will wait there with Xiaofu for 10 days. If you aren't back in 10 days, I will contact you through the turkey egg. Tang Mo nodded. Okay. A minute later, the red note on Tang Mo's forehead slowly dissipated into the air. Then a clear child's voice was heard in his mind. Ding dong. It is detected that player Tang Mo has a surprise badge and can refuse the forced tower attack game. Do you want to use it? Tang Mo said in his heart, no ding dong. The Black Tower's 3rd floor, normal mode, is officially opened. The single player game is loading, sandbox is being generated, sandbox loading complete, welcome to the Spirit Prairie. In the blink of an eye, Tang Mo's figure disappeared from the dim kitchen. It had been less than a minute since Xiaofu came to the kitchen. Fu Wensheng watched Tang Mo's disappearing figure with astonishment before saying quickly, Big brother, Brother Tang is so resolute. He said that he wants to attack the tower and then he went to attack the tower. Fu Wenduo looked at him lightly, stupid. Fu Wensheng. The 3rd floor of the Black Tower, the Spirit Prairie. When Tang Mo opened his eyes, he wasn't able to see anything around him when a fearful voice was heard from behind him. It was as if someone was shouting with all their might. This was immediately followed by countless footsteps. The earth shook violently, as if elephants were running through the gra.s.slans. Tang Mo's body was shaken up and down. A few seconds later, the screaming person came closer. Tang Mo could finally clearly hear the words. The moment he heard it, his expression changed and he ran away. The voice was shouting, run. Mosaic is setting fire to the prairie again. Help. The author has something to say, old Fu, whenever I want to tease my wife will show all types of amazing reactions. Tang, you are already teasing me. Added a KO5 for the people asking for an alternative to Patreon. You can also join my Discord channel to chat with fellow readers about the novels.